Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to cover another Airtable tutorial, and we are going to cover the specific feature called conditional rollups. So if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tom. What I cover on this channel are lessons, tips, and tricks, as well as tools as an independent freelance consultant slash entrepreneur. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing. All right, so that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and hop right in. So what I'm going to do here is give you a little bit of context. What you see here is a sample Airtable base for business operations, profit and loss. So what I have here is a list of revenue. And let's say under business, you have 3 different types of businesses. And we have some revenues been collected. We got some operating expenses that we have collected as well paid out. So in this simple example, what we want to do is pull all the revenue, pull all the expenses, and then do a simple profit and loss statement. But we're also going to cover how we can do this conditionally. So let's go ahead and start with the simple baseline of doing a roll-up. So what we want to do is look at the revenue. We want to get a collection of all the roll-ups. So we're summing up everything, right? So one way we could do this is basically look at group by business, and it would essentially create a custom view where you can see the totals by business, okay? But the challenge here is that the revenue table is completely independent from expenses. So somehow we got to tie these two together. So this is nice to see the revenue, but we need to do some calculations to see if we're even profitable. Same thing with operating expenses. You know, we can group them by business and see the total expenses of our business. But again, we have to do the calculation. So the whole point is to get the roll up of all the information that is being captured in each of these tables. So let's go ahead and I'm going to reset these views so you can see it. And let's go ahead and look at the revenue. So what we want to do is roll up this amount. So go into our business table here. I'm going to go ahead and create a field. And I'm going to say this is total revenue. And I'm going to put the word roll up just for tutorial sake, so you know that this is a roll up field. And then we're going to do a search on roll up on the field type. And then since we know we've already linked the business names to the revenue and operating expenses, I'm going to go ahead and select the revenue table. And then what we want to roll up is the amount. And then we want to indicate that this is going to be a sum because this is going to be a currency value. So we want to do a sum. And then don't forget the formatting. And then we want to make sure it is a currency. So again, just a quick review. We're rolling up the revenue table, looking at the amounts, and summing it up based on the primary key of the business name. So when I hit save, it's going to roll up all the values that's tied to that business. So let's go ahead and hit save. And there you have it. So you can see business 1, service, is 6,000, and business 2, e-commerce, is 12. So let's go ahead and validate that. Let's go to the revenue tab, or table. And you can see where the link is happening here in the business. So let's go through the view that I created, group by business. And let's go ahead and collapse all so we can simply see just one line item. And you can see right now, service, 6,000, e-commerce, 12. And then franchise, 18,000. So going back to the business, it's exactly what we expected. Perfect. So that's how you do a simple roll-up. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is then pull our expenses. So let's go ahead and do that. So similarly, we want to do the exact same thing. So let's go call this total expenses. This will be roll up. Search for the field type. Do the exact same thing. Instead of the revenue, we want to roll up the operating expenses table. And then we're going to look for the amount. And do the exact same formula for sum all values. Hit save. Oh, actually, before I hit save, gotta do the formatting. Hit currency, save. All right. Now we got all of our expenses. So 659 and 83 cents for service 1, Let's go ahead and validate that. Operating expenses, because we got to always double check our numbers. Let's go by business. I'm going to go ahead and right click, collapse all. There we go, 659.83. Looking good. So now we have our expenses. So let's go ahead and calculate our profit and loss. So let's create another field. We could say net profit or loss in this case. And we're going to make this a formula. And what we simply want to do is take the total revenue, type in total, you can see revenue, and then you subtract the total expenses. You type in total again, there's expenses, and then make the formatting into a currency, hit save. And there's our net profit or loss. So that's how you would tie it all together. Two independent tables, rolling up the fields, and then be able to do some calculations against that. So now we can have a bird's eye view of each of our businesses and see if we're profitable or if we're not. Now, let's go ahead and cover conditional roll-ups. Let's say the revenue, the total revenue, hasn't been collected yet. So let's go back to revenue table. And I'm going to go back to the default view. So let's say that this is the revenue, but then we have some pending transactions. So for example, let's say we are in the month of May and we haven't collected an invoice, or we invoiced the client, but we haven't collected the revenue yet. So let's create a status field. And we'll make it a single select and say it is collected. Okay. And then add another one. Invoiced. So it hasn't been collected yet, it's been invoiced. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit different color and hit save. And let's go ahead and select the field collected for the first three. And then the next three will be invoiced. Okay, so now that's our status. So in theory, we should only see what's been collected in our business revenue. So let's go ahead and go to business, and let's go ahead and insert a field to the left so you can see the difference here, and say total revenue collected. Okay, now it's gonna be the same type of roll up. We're gonna say a roll up field type. Now the only difference here is now we're gonna go look at revenue table. We're still gonna pick the amount that we're going to roll up, but then there's this little toggle here. We want to make sure we check that for conditions. So we click on this and we want to say where basically the status, now it's going to refer to this revenue table, the status is collected. And then we want to do a sum the exact same way. So that's the only additional condition we're adding to this roll up, is adding this one condition. You can add multiple conditions, but we're going to stick with one. And we're going to hit save after I change the formatting here to currency and hit save. Now you can see there is a $1,000 difference here and a $2,000 difference here for business 1 and 2. So let's go back. So on operating expenses here, the revenue is, you can see how the invoice is $1,000 and $2,000 difference. So we have not collected that. So we should see a difference of $1,000 and $2,000 because that have yet to be collected. So now we can actually change our formula. Here it said, instead of looking at what we've actually have collected in total, what we actually have in total revenue, we should evaluate what we actually collected. So that's one way we can update this formula to say, instead of saying total revenue roll up lookup, let's go ahead and delete that and say total revenue collected. And then hit save. Now the numbers are completely different. So that's essentially it. That's how you can create a conditional roll up. And you can do the exact same thing with expenses, but I just want to kind of show you the one example so you have a good general idea how roll-ups can be extremely useful, especially when you have specific conditions. So I'm going to do one more test to kind of show you. We want to increase this to 5,000. So I want to show you how dynamic this is and how powerful this is that when you go to the revenue and you go to business one and say you did collect this, I mark it as collected, and you go back to the business, you immediately see the value went up to $6,000. Now it's matched up. That's talking about real-time data that is going to be so useful as you update. You never have to touch this again once you have it set up. It's so useful in giving you a bird's eye view of your whatever data you're evaluating. In this case, your businesses. All right, so that's it. Hope you find this helpful. And if you did, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, consider subscribing. Until then, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.